Hi, my name is Joe from the Mats, and we are going to participate with a 4-part meditation. We hope that you find this useful, healing, and reflective. Blessings upon your journey. We begin by taking a breath in through our nose and exhaling back out through our nose, finding a rhythm and pace that allows you to relax, breathing in through your nose and back out through your nose at a pace that works for you. Starting to slow our breath and relax, we enter into the first of 4 meditations, taking a moment to reflect on how we take care of ourselves. As we take that breath in, take a moment to reflect inwardly on what it is that we are doing to help nourish our body, our mind, our spirit. How do we re-energize as that breath goes back out, releasing any energy which is no longer useful, any thoughts of negativity, any events or emotions which are no longer helpful to us. We simply let go of them. In that new breath, take in a new energy, a new thought to replace that, allowing ourselves to be positive, that we can take care of ourselves, that we will take care of ourselves. We will take a moment to be silent and to listen. As we get ready to bring our first meditation to a close, we remember, I am positive. I will take care of myself. I will nurture myself. I will grow and learn and become the best me possible. Now refocus on your breath and come back to being present to the moment before you. Bringing our meditation to a close, may blessings continue to be with you during the day.
We are in Central Park asking people what they think the Golden Rule is and why it's important.
The Golden Rule?
Yes.
The Golden Rule, wow. The Golden Rule, what is it?
I don't know.
Okay.
The Golden Rule. I've never heard of that. I don't know.
The Golden Rule.
I don't know.
I'm sorry. I don't know it.
I have not heard of the Golden Rule.
You've never heard of the Golden Rule?
I don't remember what it is.
The golden rule
Yes.
of anything. That's very deep and profound, isn't it?
It's do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Bingo.
Okay, I believe it's the ability to coexist with others by treating the way that we want it to be treated.
The Golden Rule is treat others as you would like to be treated as yourself, correct?
Golden Rule, it's a rule that was actually made by Confucius. And the main issues of the Confucianism is that you should respect the elderly people and actually respect everyone.
Do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
I believe, what is it, Hillel said?
Yes?
That, when asked to explain the Torah while standing on one leg, said, the Torah says, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. The rest is commentary. Go learn it.
The Golden Rule, when I was taught in elementary, a simple answer would be treat people the way you treat yourself.
Oh man, that's it. In a divided world full of conflict and mistrust, a grassroots movement has emerged to remind every person on the planet that we share one thing in common: the Golden Rule. Treat others and the planet as you would like to be treated. These words are found in sacred texts of most organized religions throughout history. In 2007, URI Africa and Interfaith Peacebuilding Initiative declared April 5th as Golden Rule Day in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and called upon all citizens of the world to join them in proclaiming the day and living every day according to the teaching of the Golden Rule in order to make our world better and more peaceful for all. Since then, about 700 organizations in 165 countries have joined in proclaiming Golden Rule Day each year. The first 24-hour global webinar celebrating the Golden Rule took place April 5th, 2018. It was organized by 4 international NGOs: the Golden Rule Project, United Religions Initiative, Charter for Compassion, and the Grandmothers Global Healing Movement. More than 30 organizations across the world served as participating partners, organizing events and providing video content for the webcast, which was transmitted live on the goldenruleday.org website and Facebook Live. The international webcast began with World Peace Prayers offered for 193 countries by the Goi Peace Foundation in Japan, an interview with Australia megastar Lior, and the playing of the Compassion Symphony. A discussion on kindness led by Indian pop singer Nemo Patel.
Thinking what's the reason why we holding back from being kind? What's the disease? But then I sense we are fine. It'll all happen one small step at a time.
And music and messages from reggae superstar Pt.1.
One God, one aim, one destiny, which means that we're all God's children, brothers and sisters.
In South Africa, college students of different races shared stories of how problems with race remain, but with hard work, society will change. In Monterrey, Mexico, the Charter for Compassion chapter shared how they encourage government, business, schools, media, and families to build a more just and sensitive society to human suffering by tirelessly seeking true peace.
Impulsa a trabajar incansablemente para aliviar el sufrimiento de nuestros semejantes.
Para destronarnos a nosotros mismos del centro de nuestro mundo y poner a otro ahí.
In the United Kingdom, an interview focused on the importance of the Golden Rule to care for the earth. Students from the Middle East, Pakistan, and India shared thoughts on kindness despite differences in religion.
भगवान और अल्लाह में फर्क क्या है?
मेरे ख्याल से वो सारे एक ही है, सिर्फ उनके नाम अलग हैं.
Faith leaders from most of the world's major religions, along with shamans and indigenous spiritual leaders, added their voices to fully demonstrate how the Golden Rule is universal. Ella Gandhi, granddaughter of Mahatma Gandhi, shared, May this day reverberate throughout the world and cause real ripples of change, which must start with us.
In this day and age, if we practice that a little more freely, things might change.
It's the prettiest thing that you ever seen, from the Big Dipper to the Pleiades. The sea shines and the trees are green, the sky's so blue and the streams run clean. It's just like a dream come true, just like a dream. The people of the earth, caring and free, fearlessly peaceful, we stand united for our one wondrous glorious earth. Oh, glorious earth. Everyone's different in wonderful ways, and there's a beautiful part that everyone plays. There's a light that shines in every face, in the beautiful colors of every race. There's reason to hope and reason to pray, and there's something to say for every faith. Some people are straight, some people are gay, others aren't sure, they just rather not say. But as long as there's just enough kindness, it's all okay. We're here to live and to walk in beauty, not just to walk on it. Even now there is so much beauty on earth. We, the people of the earth, caring and free, fearlessly peaceful, we stand united for our one wondrous glorious earth. Oh, glorious There's fish in the sea and birds in the sky. The oceans are deep and the mountains are high. Rain comes when it's been dry. The seasons still change as the sun goes by. It's life returns after things die. And babies are born and they learn how to fly. The earth is alive, so alive. And we, the people of the we stand united for our wondrous, glorious earth. Oh, glorious earth.
Attention! Attention! Can I have your attention, please?
It's urgent!
Urgent! It's urgent!
This is
an urgent message
from your children!
I feel really scared. The environment is kind of just getting torn apart. There's pollution, global warming, and people are just not caring about it. Nature is getting destroyed. I mean, there's a bunch of logging. There's water pollution, there's air pollution. I'm really concerned about fracking because I don't have no good water to drink.
Pipelines with gas inside, they can also explode.
And some people are throwing garbage in the ocean that makes the ocean polluted. So animals are also getting sick and can die out there. If animals are getting extinct, one day we're gonna get extinct if you don't stop. This makes me feel mad. It makes me feel upset. I think it's terrible. I feel ashamed because so far very few people are doing something about it. We will all be sad because we don't have anywhere else to live.
I'm worried that this generation will be ruined and there will be nothing left for the next generation.
If this keeps going, well, the whole world is really gonna collapse. Just give me a minute, please.
If we don't stop this, it will lead to a global disaster or even the destruction of Earth.
If we destroy all of this, then we'll have no other planet to live on. People act like it's nothing and it won't affect them, but soon it will.
Sometime in the future, I may be dead, I may not. It's going to affect us all in some horrible way. And so if we do something now, then maybe we can stop that from happening.
I would want to do something about it, though the people who really have that power don't really care.
It's not like there's an unstoppable force doing this to us. We can choose not to, do this to the planet and the environment.
I want to live in a world where children could look out the window and not see a sea of sadness, but somewhere where things thrive.
We're probably gonna have to, evolve.
Hey kids! Hey kids!
Want to help us get the word out?
Will you join us? Go to weyourchildren.org.
weyourchildren.org.
And upload your own video.
Upload your own video. Add your voice.
Tell your adults how you feel. Tell your adults how you feel. Tell your adults how you feel.
And tell your friends to join us too.
If we can get 1 million kids.
1 million kids!
To add their voice.
Then grown-ups will have to listen.
The grown-ups will have to listen.
Go to weyourchildren.org.
weyourchildren.org.
We are your children.
We are your children.
I'm Mark Barish, author of The Compassionate Life and the founder of the Green World Campaign. Golden Rule Day is a wonderful occasion to contemplate how to be more compassionate to each other, how to empathize more with each other, how to understand more sympathetically each other's circumstances, and to acknowledge our deepest human commonality and community, and especially to act out of that understanding. To recognize that none of us are so different one from the other, that we cannot treat each other with love, caring, and respect. The golden rule is a way I remind myself that you want the same goodness and love and security and happiness in your life that I hope for. Whether it is not doing something that I wouldn't like done to myself or doing something for someone else I might like done to or for me, it lights the way to step beyond the state of separation that seems to cause so much of our unhappiness in life. It's an opportunity to think more deeply about relatedness and to extend that relatedness further into the world. I think we're all aware that the world desperately needs this understanding, now more than ever. In fact, the web of life into which we ourselves are woven, that we too often regard as a vast, even abstract other, is experiencing a great dying because we've failed to extend the golden rule to the planet itself. It's as if our own body were a collection of separate entities. So if the foot caught fire, the hand would just say, well, that's the foot's problem. This past summer, wildfires spread across the world from Australia to Scandinavia to California. A record-breaking heat wave set forest fires raging across Sweden as far north as the Arctic Circle, an unheard-of event. The Amazon rainforest, our very lungs, is showing signs of drying out and faces increased human destruction. More and more of our fellow creatures, who are what the Lakota people call Mitakuweowasan, all my relations, are also facing extinction. The earth is our body, our flesh and our bones and our blood. Its fate is our own. And if we continue to treat the world as other, and thus don't care for it as if it were ourselves, then generations to come are sure to bear the brunt of our neglect of the golden rule. I think it's these lessons that can help to turn us from our current course. Martin Luther King, one of history's great exemplars of the power of the golden rule, once wrote, "In a real sense, all life is interrelated, all men and women tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. This is the interrelated structure of reality." I think it's sometimes in our dreams that we realize this unity fully. 20 years ago, I had a vivid dream that a polar bear was drowning in the ocean and that I was drowning with it. And this seems to be coming to pass. I'm sure many of us are dreaming and receiving messages that intrude into our partiality, disturbing our sleep with the cries of the earth herself and her myriad creatures. Today, as the polar bear's icy habitat melts, they're becoming climate refugees, and they're not alone. We can't just appreciate nature because it's pretty, or love animals because they're adorable, or even love ourselves only when we feel worthy, and appreciate each other only when we're on best behavior. This is a come-as-you-are moment where the good and the bad and the ugly are all in the same boat on this planet and all facing the same equation, the same conundrum, the same evolutionary bottleneck. Perish separately in our splendid isolation of egohood, or we learn to live together, not in mere toleration and forbearance, but in what Martin Luther King called the beloved community. And when I wrote my book on compassion, I was struck by how people had spontaneously come together after 9/11 in New York, and there was an amazing community of mutual active caring at the site of the Twin Towers, where volunteers from every corner of the city, from around the country and even the world, whatever their beliefs, whatever their sexual persuasions, whatever their economic and social status, whatever their color, took care of each other. We're in a moment like that now. It's what we need to do as we look at this current looming catastrophe. Just care for each other. Care for not only our children today, but everybody's children now and for the future, and the children of all species on whom we mutually depend. There are all these charismatic megaspecies on the verge of extinction, the weird punk rock ones. and the sometimes repellent creepy crawly creatures, all threads of an impossibly complex web of life we're just beginning to even dimly understand. It's not just a matter of possibly Xing out a few species that we'd greatly miss and others that we haven't even discovered yet, but we're now realizing that pulling even the humblest thread from the web, the phytoplankton in the ocean, or some key insect pollinator, can have as much impact on an ecosystem as losing an alpha predator. It can cause the collapse of the very support systems we humans in our civilization depend on for our own existence, in the sort of ignorance that we're also members of the web of nature. So it's not enough to just cherish nature for its ecosystem services, as they're called. The Golden Rule, at its highest understanding, is not some kind of quid pro quo or an exchange, or it's a declaration of unity, such that whatever befalls one of us befalls all of us. I mean, it is true that nature underpins all economies with the so-called free services it provides of clean water and air and pollination of all the major human food crops. And this, in the Americas alone, is worth more than $24 trillion a year. But this isn't a financial transaction. We need to draw on that highest form of love, the unconditional love we're capable of extending to each other and ourselves and all life, simply because it all exists and we all exist and we all have a place, and maybe one that we do not always understand, but there's some crucial role of everything in this great scheme of things that extends beyond our limited and often self-centered assessments of what's good and true and beautiful and worthwhile, or what's useful and valuable, and what else we think we can just discard carelessly. To really practice the Golden Rule means breaking the rule of habitual thought itself. I think it's our default position of what's in it for me and our preconceptions of where our selfhood leaves off and the other begins. The Golden Rule means going beyond the boundaries and the borders of the things we assume we know, to go beyond the usually surprisingly self-imposed limits on our own potential and discover our hidden capacity for change and growth, and especially our ability to contribute. To speak personally, I took on this challenge after writing my book, The Compassionate Life, and I realized kind of abruptly that just being an author was not enough. I needed to walk my talk, or I'd feel like a hypocrite. I started a charitable foundation, the Green World Campaign, to regenerate degraded soil and reforest barren landscapes around the world. And starting with just a few seeds, really, and the seed of an idea and a little bit of my own money and some friends and colleagues. We've today planted nearly 10 million trees on 3 continents, 4 million in Kenya alone, and started 90 school programs that teach hands-on eco-education to hundreds of thousands of kids, and teach permaculture to farmers, and catalyze a youth-led Trees for Peace movement. And I think it's just getting started. And this, despite what it may justifiably sound like, is not just some kind of humble brag. It's really saying I'm genuinely amazed, and that one can really start from nothing, just exploring what might be possible to achieve on behalf of the greater good, if one were just to devote oneself to that and sort of have faith that something would emerge. It's said in meditation that one is supposed to practice as if your hair's on fire, as if waking up out of that trance, that normative state of self-involvement, that limited self-centered consciousness, were actually the urgent business of our lives. Unfortunately, for most of us, and myself as well, even as the earth is burning, we still remain largely in denial. Today, it's the youth who seem to understand best that we're an endangered species alongside other endangered species. This past March 15th, the children of the world suddenly arose in this compassionate and loving movement that the grown-ups didn't even see coming, to claim their planet, to reclaim it, and to reclaim their future, and proclaim their aspiration to make a course correction in the fate of the earth. Compassion, I think, is nothing less than seeing that everything and everyone are connected everywhere at all times, and living as if we really believed that. The Native American version of the Golden Rule that's shared by indigenous people all around the world is maybe the one that's most useful in this current crisis. And it basically is some variant of we are as much alive as we keep the earth alive, as we nurture all life. And we are not doing a great job right now, which hardly needs to be said. Animal populations have declined a shocking 60% since 1970. Insects that are vital to the diets of many animals and as pollinators of crops are experiencing what amounts to population collapse. 31% of bees, 37% of butterflies in Europe are in decline. Similar patterns are manifesting in southern Africa and elsewhere. Nature is in free fall, and the planet's support systems are stretched so thin that we face widespread species extinctions and mass human migrations unless urgent action is taken. I replenish that hope every day, as I hope all of you do. There are all kinds of signs that the world is beginning to mobilize. Indigenous people in Latin America are lobbying for the creation of a protected land area that would go from the southern tip of the Andes all the way to the Atlantic. Pakistan is talking about planting 10 billion trees. Ethiopia is mobilizing communities to restore 20 million acres of degraded land, and an African green wall project is planning a 5,000-mile-long belt of vegetation across the continent. A titanic project on China's Loess Plateau has brought back perhaps more degraded land than any project in human history. And I firmly believe that we can regreen the world in one generation. There are 5 billion acres of degraded land that the UN has identified as capable of being regenerated and restored, and we believe that that would constitute a massive carbon sink that could help to start reversing climate change. Somehow this poem by Rilke lodged in my mind years ago as a kind of a portable inspiration kit for everything I'm doing now. And Rilke wrote, I find you, Lord, in all things, and in all my fellow creatures, pulsing with your life. In a tiny seed you sleep in what is small, and in the vast you vastly yield yourself. The wondrous game that power plays with things is to move in such submission through the world, groping in roots, growing thick in trunks, and in branches like a rising of the dead. It was Einstein who suggested how to accomplish a profound shift of mindset. He said, the problem is that we experience ourselves as separate from each other because of what he called a kind of optical delusion of consciousness that restricts our affection to a few people nearest to us. He said our task must be to free ourselves by, quote, widening our circle of compassion to embrace all creatures and the whole of nature. Let's do that. Let's start today. Thanks.
Trapped in the concrete jungle, sinking deeper, I'm going under. Machines come loud as thunder, the earth's resources we plunder. And some people turn away, but I raise my voice and say what will be left of my generation at the end of the day. If a tree falls in the forest, does anyone bother to listen? This is the people's darkest hour, we must make the right decision. Extinction or salvation, global deforestation. Are we the ancient guardians of this long lost nation? I wasn't born in the year of the panda, I was born in the year of the concrete block. But we break and chains.
We can break
We
them.
can break these locks and chains.
Come on, yeah.
I wasn't born in the year of the panda. I was born in the year of the concrete block. We can break these locks and chains.
We can break
We can
them.
break these locks and chains.
So let's break them. We slash and we burn. What will we ever learn? The forest catches fire. A small part of us will burn. I'm not the Lorax, but I still speak for the trees. The survival of our forest depends on you and me. Look into the eyes of our children. You will see the beauty of the world within them. Cause as I fade into the sunset, the trees will surround me. Climb into the branches and feel life so profoundly.
I burn into this world as a part of the land. When I climb into a tree, I hold a flower in my hand. One with the earth, I'm one with the land.
We hold the future of our earth in all of our hands. I'll stand tall like a tree in the forest that I love. To protect my only home, to protect all that I love.
Don't cut down my tree.
Don't destroy my only home.
Don't cut down my forest.
Leave us alone. Your body is a tree like gardenia. Your heart is the seed and it beats for love. You are the baobab, redwood and pine. You are the future in this present time. Your dreams are the fruits of the flower petals. Music is the season, spring the leaf falls. Feel your roots like a living history. When you breathe, it's because you are a tree. So we say to you an enemy, 1 billion rise for the trees and the seeds. I am life and I am unchoppable. You can't stop us at the unstoppable, yeah.
Of our people, we must rise up and fight for our freedom. If I plant one seed, I can grow a whole forest. I can bring back the trees that we all need and cherish. I can feel the pain of the Mother Earth, and I know that when the sun fades away and the lights burn low, I turn my head to the sky and gaze into the stars. Is this why we're really here? Is this who we really are?
Put down our axes for the future generation. Restore our ancient forests, mass reforestation. Put down our axes for the future generation. Restore our ancient forests, mass reforestation.
I wasn't born in the year of the panda. I was born in the year of the concrete block. We can break these locks and chains. We can break these locks and chains. Yeah, I wasn't born in the year of the panda. I was born in the year of the concrete block. We can break these locks and chains. And we can break these locks and chains.
Hi, my name is Sanjali Gidwani and I'm the Director of Design for Change USA. This year we are so excited to collaborate with the Golden Rule Project. Students from across the country and across the world are using the Design for Change, Feel, Imagine, Do, Share framework to enact change in their own communities. They are following the Golden Rule example and showing kindness to themselves, others, animals, and the planet while they're taking care of the mental health of their peers, or they're supporting refugees in their community, or taking care of the invasive species that is around their school. Design for Change students are so excited to inspire you with their spirit of I can. Yes, we can.
We're excited about the Be Golden campaign. We believe that it's going to start a spark throughout the city for neighbors to come together around the issue of welcoming. We feel like people will get to know each other, become better neighbors, and to know each other's stories.
One of the things that has been phenomenal in this Be Golden campaign, and that is the collection of the leaders within the community. We're talking the spiritual leaders, we're talking also business leaders. Everybody's coming together recognizing the very essence of truth in treating others the way we would want to be treated.
Immigrants contribute to our vitality by starting and building businesses, investing in neighborhoods, and expanding our cultural offerings. Our city's economy is growing, and immigrants are a major part of that upward momentum.
Be Golden is an initiative that's really for all of us to embrace. We have so many people in our community, far-reaching to all the 9 counties we serve at Catholic Charities, that need our help and need us to step together and come together as a community, to unite, to respect each other, to treat each other with dignity, to listen a little more, to be a little more kind, and ultimately, hopefully, to maybe learn a little bit more in the process as well.
You know the golden rule, treat others the way that you want to be treated. But now a local initiative is asking Texans to extend that rule to the immigration debate.
Be Golden is a social movement with a message we can all get behind. A message that can shine a ray of hope onto the community and light up an entire city. We brought together community leaders and showed them real stories from real people.
I'm an immigrant from Baghdad, Iraq. I was 15 years old when I moved to the United States.
The United States has been built on immigrants. Most people have come from somewhere else.
We built a wall, but one worth building.
These welcome walls are sprouting up in Dallas, at the Public Library, Love Field Airport, and soon the Convention Center.
We collaborated with local immigrant artists to help spread the message. We collected a set of resources for those who just got here to help them not only get a head start, but also to feel welcome in the community that they now call home. And we got great results. But most importantly, we got a significant response where it matters most, in the hearts of our neighbors.
We treat others the way you want to be treated. Just like you want to be treated.
All in all, a campaign so successful, it's now being implemented in other cities nationwide.
To me, the golden rule is the basis for all truly caring behavior. I look at all the religions that we have in the world, and it's a baseline for every one of those.
We are so excited for these tables to be placed at our ISD schools because it'll be a place that is fixed at the campus that will have such important words such as those of the Golden Rule.
The Be Golden campaign is also now in area schools. They handed out about 10,000 of these Be Golden bracelets, and they also plan to install welcome walls in DISD schools. Be Golden also recently expanded into Louisville, Kentucky.
There's so much goodness in this city. We will be there with you every step of the way. Don't be afraid to ask for help, because we're here. Welcome.
You know, compassion is the backbone of everything that strong cities should do. The old golden rule, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Fort Worth signed the International Charter for Compassion because we want to make a statement. You know, I think it's critically important to the health of a city, any community, that children and youth learn that compassion. But more than that, the schools, the universities, all, if you start talking about things, it begins to pique people's imagination and it catches hold, and that's how we'll become the compassionate city that we want to be. My vision for Fort Worth as a compassionate city is that all people will treat each other with kindness and respect, and that we will be known in the business community, in the schools, in the religious community as a city that really cares. My grandmother would have said a front porch community where people care about each other, and I would love for us to be the largest city with that great front porch small town feel.
We have to, as people in the 21st century, continue to emphasize the fact that our world has gotten much, much smaller when it comes to communication and being. My neighbor today is not just the person who lives next door to me, it's the person who is half a world away, who I stay in regular touch with because of the communication modes that are available to us. So we have to work diligently to create a sense of community out of what has become a very close-knit globe. So I believe that communities that unite, communities that tie each other together on these basic universal values of compassion are building the opportunity that later we will hopefully make use of to bring peace in our political environments. You know, I'm the chair of Sister Cities International, and I always try to remind people that we spend a lot of time in our communities building things, roads, sidewalks, parks, buildings. But the most important infrastructure that we build are the bridges that we build between people. And so when communities on one side of a political boundary and another choose to unite on universal values of compassion and do educational exchanges or business relationships or artistic exchanges, it creates the infrastructure, builds bridges that one day we will be able to cross as political leaders. You know, Dwight Eisenhower in 1956 created essentially the Sister Cities mission, and it was in the knowledge that a world torn in war can only hope for peace so long as people are creating bonds, that we have citizens and on one side of a political boundary and another uniting to create the opportunities for peace later. And that's exactly why I think these compassionate city relationships are so important for us.
So Norma Jean, it's great to see you as usual. Here we are at the U.S.-Canadian border in Washington at the Peace Arch. Great place to talk about peace for Golden Rule Day. And it was so interesting that our lives met because of the Golden Rule Day last year and organizing it. And but you got involved in helping refugee asylum seeker here in the state of Washington. I got involved in the other side of the country in New York, and it was just so interesting that our country, or really all over the world, there are 25 million people who have been forced from home, whether that's the Rohingya refugees or people from Syria, millions of people forced to flee. They have nowhere to go. And so my gut tells me that people believe that our governments should have a moral obligation to help those people who are suffering. It is the golden rule. What if that happened to my family? I would want a government to step in. You know, somebody's got to help. And so that's why I decided to help as one man. You're helping this one mother and son. But what can we do to help people to realize that not only is it the right thing to do, but it's, we've seen that it's really fulfilling.
I think the issue is people being willing to relax their fear. All those fears we hear. They're going to take our jobs. All of the fear. To relax that, to say yes, to take a risk. It is a risk. There's so much unknown. And the richness of softening the edges, like this edge, this border right here. We just witnessed how difficult, how convoluted, how stealing of our energy, all that can be. And so I feel joined with you, Kevin, in wanting to encourage people to say yes, to take a risk, and to open themselves to one of the most fulfilling experiences they could have.
I agree. I think that this problem, especially with climate change, this problem is only going to get worse because there will be mass migrations, and so we will not be able to build walls fast enough or high enough. We've got to deal with the policies of helping people when these natural disasters occur. We've got to help other countries cope and get rid of evil dictators like in Venezuela, also causing refugees. Good foreign policy and good Samaritan-like behavior is the answer, in my opinion.
So I would call that, once again, engaging the culture of care. A culture of care that is based on common basics being given to everyone. We all have that in our hearts. We've been distorted, quite distorted. And so beyond the obligation is the joy in sharing with others and the richness of having this culture and this culture and this culture be like the flowers in a bouquet. Instead of someone we're afraid of, what are they going to take from us? And our culture happens to have more physically, financially, in many, many ways than most countries. And so the encouragement is to let go of that value that is that, our money. We've all been trained to focus there and to just take a deeper breath, take a deeper place inside you of willingness to step in.
I agree. I've taken a course from the Charter for Compassion on compassion integrity training, and I'm learning all about how, as humans, our biology tells us that we do belong with other mammals. We belong together in groups. And also, but what's happened is that we have our in-group of people that are just like me, my neighborhood, my race, my religion, whatever. And so I might care for people in my in-group, but not so much for everybody else. And I think that's another place where I have a lot of fear, is people say, well, if we let all these people in, they're going to change our culture. Things are going to change. But I think that the data show that things change for the better. The diversity is not something to be afraid of. Crime is not something to be afraid of. Almost always there are economic benefits, in fact, to bringing immigrants into an area. And especially there are many parts of the world, many parts of the country have depressed economies, and they could use more people, more families to come and grow and thrive in their communities. And I hope that that's where we return, back to where in America, we are a country of immigrants. My grandfather came on a ship into Ellis Island from Germany, and I have a view of that from my apartment in New York City. So it's a wonderful reminder of, I wouldn't be here if he not been allowed into this country. So I believe others should be given the same right.
You're reminding me, Kevin, we need our roots in order to grow. And I'm also very aware of how you took on a practice after your experience of 9/11, of being stranded in Gander and having a small community of 9,000. Take care of 7,000 of you immediately, a full-on yes, nothing left out. And that story now is a healing salve for the whole world. And then how you took that and to pay it forward. So what I'm aware of here is giving, encouraging the actual act of giving, opening to give rather than protecting and withdrawing. And myself, I visited India for 40 days with Sister Lucy, our Mother Teresa, doing so much service, housing children, women, men. I came home to experience my own people contracting, hiding, protecting. And what was there of the heart? So the encouragement to encourage people to risk to give simply give. Everyone has something to give.
That's right. And then sometimes, and with my Pay It Forward 9/11 effort, often it involved giving things to buying someone a cup of coffee or paying someone to fix a flat tire. It might cost $3 or $5 or $7. But guess what? There's something you can do for free. It doesn't cost any money, and that's listening. Actively listening to people, including strangers. And there's so many people. I look around New York City on the subway, everyone's got their head down, buried in their phone. Sometimes that's me too. Headphones on. But we need people to look up and be aware of the humanity around us. Say hello to people, say good morning, and engage with the world. And I think that if we don't do that, we are in for even worse problems. And so I hope that we can get people to live with more compassion, get people to actively live by the Golden Rule, as all of the world's religions teach, is that the Golden Rule is universal. It's part of every major religion. And so it's so simple, but we got to remind people of what it is.
It's so good to see you and join in these things we feel so good about. Thank you.